time on the computer or on the phone recently, as we all have been kind of sitting down and doing the Zoom calls, all that sort of thing. So just sort of loosening up through there, getting a little bit more kind of blood flow and get everything feeling nice and healthy again. So don't force any of these positions, okay? Especially if you do feel quite stiff. We just want to sort of allow it over time just to kind of open up more and more and more. So the side to side is one. We can also go right to left, so kind of looking over your right shoulder and then looking over your left shoulder. And again, just nice and slow. So sort of think like, almost think like on a tempo, sort of like about 4 seconds going off to one side to a pause, and another 4 seconds going across the other side and a pause. And what's going to be interesting with all of these positions is kind of checking in, do I feel like I have more range one way than the other? So I'll allow you guys to kind of work with that for the next minute or so. Have a think about that side to side, whether it feels even or not. Now from here we'll move into an up and down one. So we're thinking about tucking the chin to the chest, getting that nice big stretch up the back of the neck there. Now we're going to come back. Don't excessively go like arching your head back. It's more about kind of looking upwards. So if you think about like your head kind of just pivoting on the top of your neck rather than your entire neck leaning back. We don't want to go too excessive with that reach back, just to where is comfortable. So again, think about smooth movement. Use that same tempo again, about 4 seconds in the movement and 1 second pause. If it feels comfortable, you can kind of lean it back just a little bit, open up. Don't go excessive with it. So the last 30 seconds, what we'll do is go in a circular motion now. So kind of rolling down through that chin down position, cross sort of ear to shoulder, a little bit back behind ourselves and then around the top there. So just really trying to loosen that up, get that nice movement going on. So if you do happen to find like one side is tighter than the other, maybe that's something to work on kind of in your own time. Spend a little bit more time in that side and open it up. All right, so the next one I'm going to move into, I'm going to get Em to turn around because this is a lot easier to see from the back side of us. Basically what's going to happen, she's going to start the arms out. We're going to go one over, one under, okay? And what's going to happen over the space of this 3 minutes, not necessarily straight out of the gates, is she's going to try and get those fingertips to touch or at least get as close as she can. So she'll go from that position, swing them back around, into the other position. This is a really nice window into if you have muscle imbalances as far as like internal rotation or from right to left, which one is tighter. And we'll just sort of keep it in motion. So same sort of deal, about sort of 4 or 5 seconds as we move, swinging the arms around to the next position. Probably spend a little bit more time at end range with this one, so maybe 3 or 4 seconds there as well, rather than just a 1 second pause. And just going back and forth. For some of you, this might feel like your fingertips are a mile away, and that's sort of a good hint as to maybe doing this drill a little bit more often, starting to open up the shoulder mobility. If you can get fingertips to touch going both ways, that's awesome. That's kind of the end goal of this. So for the last 90 seconds, what we'll play around with is another kind of drill we can use with the band, or you can even use like a skipping rope if you want. Basically, she's going to hang that over the top. She's going to fold that arm up behind her, and what she can do is she can either pull up, so she's stretching that bottom arm, and when you do that, you want to think about kind of retracting the shoulder blade, just so you're not thinking about getting yourself in kind of a chicken wing position. You want to retract it, pull into that nice position, and then you can also pull down, so that's going to help this top arm get that sort of upper arm in a more vertical position and open that up. So you can kind of go back and forth. It's going to kind of have a bit of a feel like you're drying your back with a towel, but just nice and slow. So you'd work a little bit with this kind of setup, and then in a moment we're going to flip around and do the arms the other way around, and that will help kind of open it up. So if you do feel like you're a mile away from getting contact, guys, play around with this. Doesn't have to be a band, even like a belt would be fine. You can hold onto that and just use that to kind of get yourself into those slightly higher or lower positions, depending on which arm we're talking about. We'll go about 30 more seconds on this. So remembering when she's bringing that arm up behind her in that kind of chicken wing position, she's sort of drawing that shoulder back, make sure it's sitting back in a really nice safe position. More seconds. All right, so we're going to move on to the next one now, guys, which is going to be our couch stretch. So preferably if you've got some cushioning, an ab mat, a rolled up towel, something to put under your knee. So we're going to go into a lunge position, and we're going to hook that leg up behind us. So we're doing a version where Emma's just going to hold onto her foot, but you can feel free to wedge it against the couch, wedge it against the wall, anything like that to kind of support it, and then you can posture up nice and tall. So we'll do 90 seconds each side on this one. And key things with this is making sure that we're not letting our body kind of escape or try and twist away from the stretch. So sometimes the body will want to kind of hinge at the hips, kind of take the pressure off there. What we want to do is squeeze your butt, squeeze your abs, and push those hips forward through the stretch. So we're really getting into those hip flexors. Should get a lot of quad as well. We also want to watch that we're not allowing the body to kind of twist and rotate away from it. So try to square your body up as much as you can to the front. So we're sort of getting that stretch as wound up as we possibly can. Now, if you are doing this against a wall, guys, you might find that if it's super tight to the point where you feel like you can't straighten up, you're sort of hinged forward, bring that ab mat out a little bit, okay? Have the foot a little bit lower angle, that way we can kind of get the body straight rather than having that leg wound up to 100 and then we can't get in a good position. So just relax it off a bit, get postured up, and then we'll be in a good spot. You can also kind of do this sort of thing with your foot just resting on a stack of cushions there if you need to. All right, we will switch sides. This is another one of those ones where it can be a good little window into if we have kind of imbalances as far as tightness through the hips and through the quads and stuff like that. You might have set up on that first side and felt, yep, that feels pretty comfortable, not too many problems there. Go to this other side and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, that feels super tight. So again, that can be a little bit of a warning sign. That side needs a little bit more love. Spend a little more time loosening that up. So again, she's got that nice tall position. We can draw a straight line from her head straight down to her knee, and her body's nice and square to the front. She's not rotating away from it. About 30 more seconds on this. So remember to focus on nice deep breathing. Allow that body to kind of melt into the stretch, see if it opens up a little bit more. So from here, guys, we're going to move into a lying glute stretch. So we'll get rid of the padding under the knee there. You're going to have a lay on your back, and what's going to happen is we're going to hook one leg up over the top of the other, and we're going to reach our arms through to that bottom leg there and bring that in nice and tight. So this, again, being a single-sided one, we'll go 90 seconds right and left. So what's happening right now, we're working on that ability to kind of externally rotate that hip. So this is going to be really helpful for things like squats and stuff like that, where we've got to be able to kind of torque those hips out, get that nice externally rotated position. Now, what you can do, like right now, Em's hanging onto the back of her hamstring with her hands. If that feels like it's not stretching enough, she can actually grab onto the shin, so that's going to kind of ramp it up and pull it in a little bit tighter. Now, remember with any of these stretches, guys, they should be uncomfortable but not agonizing. You should be able to kind of breathe and relax into it, although it is uncomfortable, yeah? So whilst you're holding the position, guys, good to kind of check out where everything is. So if we have a look at this shin here in the top, we can see that that wants to kind of kick back to her. So that shows it's a little bit tight through there. So what she can do if she wants to is get her right hand on that knee and just very, very lightly pressure down and then relax it off. And then pressure down and relax it off. So that's just going to kind of gently encourage that hip to get a little bit more motion through there, open it up a little bit more. You will find that as you press down, it gets more and more unbearable. So obviously go to a limit and then draw it back again. All right, switching sides. So same deal, grabbing onto the back of the knee or back of the hamstring and drawing that in. So you should feel this a lot of, mostly sort of in your glute and your kind of your hip. You might even get a little bit of sort of referral stretch up through your low back as well if you're quite tight through there. You can see Em's sort of got a bit of cushioning under the head. She's allowing her body to kind of lay back into it and just sort of relax back, so he just hangs on that stretch. Got 1 more minute on this one. Okay, 20 more seconds. All right, so moving into the next one, guys, we're going to be doing a wall groin stretch. So you want to find yourself a bit of a clear space of wall. And what's going to happen is Em's going to get herself right up close to the wall as tight as she can. And she's going to basically go into like a straddle position. Oh, just there to help her out. Bit of emotional support. So really, really wide with the legs. Again, 3 minutes on this one. This will just be 3 minutes straight because it's a dual-sided movement or position, this one. So most important thing with this, guys, make sure that your butt is right up flat against the wall and flat against the ground. So we're looking at getting right into that corner of where the floor meets the wall. And if you find that your bum is kind of curling up, like if your flexibility is quite tight and your bum's trying to lift up to make that happen, shuffle back a little bit so we're off the wall, but we want to have back flat on the ground. So nice straight legs. The legs are kind of active as well, so her feet aren't relaxed and just kind of slumping off to the side. She's actually holding them in a position there and then just allowing those adductors, that whole groin sort of region through the legs there, to open up nicely. So this again will play into having better squat position. We come down to those positions, being able to get out wide rather than being really tight, which is a super common thing. If you're sitting at a desk all day, we're in this sort of narrow position all the time, and we're walking, we're in that position, sort of rare that we're actually getting out nice and open. So this would be really nice for that, loosening it up. We're going to go 60 more seconds on this one. Again, think about breathing. You can even close your eyes, kind of go a little bit sort of in meditation if you want. Big 3-second breath in, slight hold, and then 3-second breathe out and slight hold. Just cycle that. Go about another 45 seconds. Last 10 seconds. All right, so from here we're going to come back to the mats here. What you want to do this next one, if you have it, guys, is grab a little bit of weight. So if you happen to have a dumbbell or a kettlebell, loaded backpack, even a stack of books is fine. Just something that we can kind of get a little bit of weight on our leg. What we're going to see is a kind of like a really, really sort of tight tucked, almost like a lunge position, but super, super snug in. And what's going to happen, the weight of that dumbbell and also the weight of her kind of leaning forward on it is going to push that shin forward. So we're getting into our Achilles and our calf. So this is all about ankle mobility, which again allows for really good, healthy squat position. So if you find that when you squat, you kind of get pitched over and you can't get those shins to have any kind of forward drift, this is going to help with that a lot. Whilst we're holding it, you don't have to hold in the one position either. You can kind of move the knee a little bit right and left. You can kind of push forwards and backwards, have a little bit of a rock off the heel and then come back to it and just kind of floss through there and get that feeling nice and healthy. So we'll do another 30 seconds on this side, then we'll switch. So the other leg is basically just kind of tucked up underneath us. So we're sort of doing everything we can to get all of our weight stacked over that leg that we're stretching. So there's a lot of pressure down on that ankle. Okay, and switching it up. Okay, so just changing it over, again, nice and everything sort of as tight tucked as we can get it. It's like you're sitting on your ankle there and then just kind of leaning forward. If you don't have any weighted objects at home, guys, that's okay. Just get both hands on there and just press forward on it. Those of you, if you're, any of you are working on like pistol squats, this is a real big part of it, is being able to get that single-legged squat down to depth is a nice sort of fluidly moving ankle, so this would be a good one to play around with if you're trying to get those. So again, it's that little bit of kind of just moving around, kind of shimming forwards and backwards and just flossing that ankle. I'm going to go 40 more seconds on this one. All right, so coming out of this one, we're going to move into our last drill now, which is going to be a pole hammy stretch. So we're going to use the upright on the rig, but you can use the edge of a kitchen bench or a doorway. Just basically need something upright that we can also slide our other leg past. So we can see this position she's gotten into. She's got her butt right up against the post like we had against the wall straddle before. So she's right in as tight as she can. The leg is as straight as possible, and she's also keeping her foot in a neutral position, so it's not turned out or turned in. The same is going to be with the bottom leg. So that bottom leg is on the ground, toe pointed at the roof. So that's a very common thing with this one, is people will let that leg kind of slouch out, and that's that body twisting out of the stretch. So turn it up to the roof, turn into the stretch, get that extra bit of tension. We're going to do 90 seconds each side. Now, similar to that wall straddle we did before, guys, if you can't get yourself right up to the post without having a big excessive bend in the knee, shimmy back a little bit away from it, straighten that knee out, make that the priority. And then over time, just see if you can kind of wiggle it back in, keep that straightness in the leg and just let it open up. This is a really nice one because it allows you to kind of relax into it. You don't actually have to actively hold yourself other than the foot position. All right, we'll switch sides there, Em. So changing over the other leg, guys, just sort of shuffle across. Depending on what your setup is, you might have to kind of wiggle around the other way. But again, just kind of wiggling yourself in as close as you can. Get that leg nice and straight. And remember, both feet in a neutral position. And just sinking into that for about the last little minute or so. If you happen to find this one fairly comfortable, like if you've got fairly sort of healthy, flexible hamstrings and you feel like this isn't pushing them too far, play around with kind of pointing your toes back at yourself. So kind of curl them back. You can see Em just sort of flex that foot back. Okay, you can also kind of shimmy past the post. It's like your foot is actually going to be pulled past that 90-degree angle there. So you can see she's kind of shuffled the hips, and now that foot is kind of wound back even further. So that's an option for you if that felt a little bit easy. You can do that. Okay, last 15 seconds. Three, two, one, and done. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Hopefully you're feeling nice and loosey-goosey after that. Everything's feeling smooth. If you happen to go through any of those drills and felt like they were either particularly tight or particularly imbalanced, I would say circle back around them if you have time, spend a few more minutes on them, try to get that evened up and feeling really good. Otherwise, guys, be safe, have a great weekend, and we will catch you next time.